All right, welcome to the Ecotech ZL Motorworks Dyno Pro podcast. So here's what we're going to do. You guys don't really know us, so for some context, we're going to give a little bit of an intro for each one of us, and then, hopefully you guys will stick around till the end and maybe give us a subscribe. So my name is Zach Luker. I run ZL Motorworks here, and I come from a background of drag racing, and then I worked in another machine shop here locally for the past 4 years, and I've kind of been racing my whole life. So that's where my background comes into, and that's really all I want to do is build very cool motors for guys like these and just have fun. So Misha, what about you?
Well, I'm Misha Avershenko, and I am the owner of Ecotech, and also have some grubby hands in ZL and Dyno Pro. And my background is 25 years of auto repair and performance and maintenance and everything. Strictly Ecotech is mostly import performance, heavy on Subarus.
Heavy on Subaru.
Heavy on Subaru.
Fuji.
Very heavy. But same as Zach, just cool things and trying to design our own line of engines. We've been building engines for a long time, but with the addition of Zach, we can finally get to that next step and do some crazy stuff.
So,
What about you?
Scooty?
my name is Tom, also known as Scooter to the guys around the shop. That's a long story. We'll get to that.
It's another podcast. Is that another podcast?
Yeah, that's another podcast. Tom, also known as Scooter Lepak. I've been in the car scene not for that long as far as Subaru goes. And before that, I worked at a General Motors plant, which was really fun.
Totally didn't know that.
Not really.
100% did not know
Quality
that.
control.
Yeah, no, I was quality control manager at the GM Winsville Assembly Center. They made the trucks and the vans. And then after that, I worked at an auto auction for about a year. And then through my drummer in the band, who's actually a technician here at Ecotech, that's how I came to be a Stubby guy, because he had an STI, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, let me check it out. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. Then I bought one, and then it just kind of went all downhill from there.
And the rabbit hole begins.
Yeah. And the bug had bit. So, so that was, I think, 3 years ago, and now I've been just kind of doing whatever.
Now he has one.
Yeah.
Now he has one. Now he has his
Yeah, I have
STI.
an 04 STI. It's not an 05 like Chris had, but it's still pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, now I do basically anything and everything when it comes to just like picking up the slack for these guys.
Your old dad over here.
Yeah. Whatever that may be, working at the dyno or putting
Dyno.
videos together.
Car sales.
Yeah, we do car sales too. We take broken Subarus and make them not broken. So,
Less broken.
yeah.
So, all right. So enough of the sales pitch, I guess.
Yeah. shameless sales pitch plug in right here.
All right, man. So let's start with you. Why import shop and why Subarus?
Right.
How did you end up?
Okay.
Sorry.
How did you end up so deep
So
into
deep.
the Subarus?
Okay. So,
What's the story?
I'm really curious to hear.
Right?
yeah. Okay, so why imports first? I'll start on that. Okay, so started out, as I was growing up a long time ago, I was a big muscle car guy, specifically Mopar muscle, and when I was a teenager, that's all I cared about, is big V8 muscle cars. All my neighbors and my friends, that's all they were doing, and that's what I wanted to do. And I had a few of those, and actually, I ended up moving to San Francisco when I was 19, because I also was in a band, and at that time, that's what I really wanted to do. And but to pay the bills, I had to still work on cars, and I was working on diesel trucks there. And as awesome of a job as it is, as well as it pays, it's great on your body. So imports, at the diesel place that I was working at, we also had a car rental, and that's all we had is imports to rent cars. And I really fell in love with how easy it was for me to grasp their systems. And yes, I'm old enough to remember the beginning of OBD2. So OBD2 on import cars for me was just really easy to grasp. So that's what it is. And
Came back to St. Louis and was like,
came back to St. Louis. I worked at a Subaru place in Berkeley, California, actually, and we were a service center. And when I came back here, it had other places I worked at. But when I started Ecotech in 2011, one of the other guys that I hired, that was always our goal, is to start doing Subaru Performance because we just liked Subarus.
You're talking about Neil or
Kevin.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the opportunity arose really early on when a friend of mine who had a pretty high-end used car lot bought a blown-up WRX, and pretty much went from there. We're like, oh, we can totally build it. And then he goes, well, can you make this cool? We made it cool, and he was able to sell it for more.
Who was that?
Who was what?
The guy that you built the car.
It was called a place called Gallery Motors. Mostly did Benz and Audi and BMW for him, but he wasn't a big fan of Subaru because of all the publicity that Subaru got with their Foresters, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway, he was not into them, but like WRX is cool, so we got the WRX, and from then on, it's just as one after another and after another, and we just stuck with them. Liked the platform. Mainly stuck with them because of rally racing. So we have been building, racing rally cars for, 9 years now at least.
Yeah, when was Kevin's car put together?
2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the first thing we did here, is built his rally car.
Yeah, we were just looking at trying to find the old Ecotech YouTube channel, and
There's some goodies in there.
And we found it, and the last upload was 7 years ago. So if you guys can find it, there are videos out there, but I'm not going to give you a link.
That's challenge accepted.
Yeah, you gotta follow this one, not the old one. So
Right.
no, but you guys have been racing rally cars a long time, right? So since you have been racing rally cars, and that industry or that form of racing has changed so much, you enjoy it more now, or did you enjoy it more 10 years ago?
Well, I definitely enjoyed it 10 years ago because 10 years ago it was cheap and easy to go and start racing. It was the competitive aspect of it was a lot different. You could have a single cam 2.5 liter engine and do mild work to it and still compete. With the new rules, you're now in a class with 3 liter engines, flat 6 engines, which is very difficult to compete against I'm not going to point at that thing because that's not 130 horsepower.
Yeah, right.
Impreza, but 130 horsepower Impreza versus a stock, versus a 260 horsepower Impreza, with the right driver is a drastic.
So the playing
drastic
field
change.
was a lot
It's a little different.
simpler before.
Yeah, well, they used to have classes and modifiers for valves and all that stuff. Now they just give you, this is the platform, deal with it.
So I talk about this pretty regularly in the drag racing world, that there's more classes available today than there ever were, right? So when you look at the records being set, right, it's really difficult to kind of, if you're not well versed in what's happening, it's difficult to understand how that works, right? Because it's like the record will be for, like the YouTube video will say new stick shift record, right? But it's like new stick shift record in a car, like with a front bumper, with like this, with this, with this, and it's like, yeah, I understand that all those things matter, and there are enough people racing now that like it actually is cool to have that record, but if you don't really know what's happening in that world, it's like I can totally see how you could build an entire car and then have no capability of competing in the class that you built the car for.
Yeah.
And that exists for us as well.
Oh,
I say
yeah.
for us, but I mean,
In the drag racing world.
yeah, in the drag racing world too. That's where it exists there too.
Yeah. Well, it's like that. I mean, it's the thing with the big difference now as opposed to what it was. It's always been a driver's game, but it's even more so a driver's game now. The driver has to be the best possible. I mean, the car that we won the national championship with last year, was it the fastest Subaru ever? Wasn't the fastest Subaru ever. Was it the best built? It wasn't. But we had a robot driving it, and he was able to.
Dave
Brown. He was able to.
is a robot.
Yes, is a robot, and he was able to destroy turbo cars in his then 110 horsepower car until we got our hands on it and put an undisclosed number because we can't really say because this is our design and we really don't want to say what we got, which is it's a lot more than 110. Let's just say that.
It's like a whole 114.
Yeah, there we go. Lot of power, and he was able to dominate until we got his engine. Once we got him an engine and a custom harness and tuning and all that, he was able to dominate and make it a lot easier for him to win. Well,
because beforehand he was just like, what was the problem? He had like AM Infinity, and
Yeah.
it was like stalling out, and he would literally have to like
Yeah.
cycle the key mid race, and he was still winning.
he was still winning,
He was still winning.
and every stage the car would die.
But
And you
the
have to
car
clutch
broke
kick it in order to while through a turn to get it started and still be able to understand what's happening. And I'm sure it was having done this many times. I don't know if I would have
Close
stayed
line.
in the game, trying to remember where I was,
Right.
and then like what is happening. You know.
Well, the same thing, can really, that goes to all motorsports, right? Like if you have, like even in drag racing, which is all about top speed, it's like consistent is fast. It's like if you have a car that will go out and do the same thing over and over and over again, then you have a platform to build off of to go faster. So it's the same thing for you guys, or for the rally racers, and I'm sure for him, he probably felt better after he got a car dialed that didn't have that, right? Because like not only is that just slowing him down, like in the moment actually slowing him down, but constantly being prepared for that is also going to slow you down.
Yeah.
Constantly worrying about like, is this gonna pop? Is this gonna like, give me an issue? Is this turn the one that dies, or is the next one like that? Lack of confidence in the car has a huge effect on like how drivers drive.
Right, and with rally is your only life saver is the fact that during a terrible turn and slides and all this crazy stuff that's happening, the ability to point and shoot the car out of a death trap that's right here.
Right.
If it decides to die there, so should you enter that corner as fast as you possibly can, or should you not? Because this is the time it's gonna. There's no,
Right.
So it was pretty impressive and
Yeah,
unbelievable.
We've been talking a lot about road course racing here too, with just how accessible endurance racing has become. That's been a conversation that we've had multiple times around here, with just having the conversation of like, if you want seat time on a road course right now, one of the cheapest ways to get a lot of seat time is to be a part of one of the endurance racing teams for like a Chump Car, Lemons, or whatever, right? But those guys suffer that even more, because it's like, unless your car has completed one of these 12 hours or one of these 16 hours or whatever race it is, like if you've never driven that car for 16 hours, every single time you're going down the track, every second you're probably just like, is it going to make it? Like, I don't know. It did 12 hours 10 weeks ago, but is it going to do 16 this week?
Can't tell if that coolant gauge is in the same place as we are.
Right. Yeah, then they start to phantom move on you.
Is it moving or is it me?
My crazier was it one tick below that before.
exactly.
Yeah, no.
It tastes coolant.
No. I can smell
What's
it.
it smell?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom, what kind of racing do you do?
Well, I'm actually probably the most naive in this group when it comes to racing, which is why I really like working with you guys, because it's something that I've been trying to like get more into or just less ignorant on. So this for me is actually kind of like me getting into it even more, because just sitting here and like, oh, okay, like endurance, like I'm learning things. So, but if I were to say that I've done any racing, it would be in high school. And racing against my wallet, because money would just fly out with speeding tickets. 'Cause, I've gotten, probably, no joke, I've probably gotten like 12 speeding tickets just in my high school career.
I'll say that I've definitely, I raced dragsters from a young age, and then always had a car throughout high school to race, so I was never really that drawn to the street racing thing. Just
It's
because,
not really big around, I mean,
well, there's really fast cars around here.
Yeah.
Like really fast.
It's either there's nobody at all, or there's like just
There's a big
ridiculous cars.
Yeah, there's a big jump between like your normal street cars that are kind of quick, and then like the really fast stuff around here, and the really fast stuff is 4 digits or more, like in that you just have to have that to even play,
Right.
And yeah, there's kind of a gap there, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, because I think after a certain point, like, I don't think everybody who can buy a 1,000 horsepower car should probably have a 1,000
Probably not.
horsepower car.
Well, that's I mean, Misha sees a lot of that too with the shop
Yeah.
because we'll get kids that come in here and they're like, hey, I got like $20,000 and I got this SDI. Like, can you get me 800 horsepower? And just like, well, we can, but should we?
Well, $20,000 is not enough. First of all, if you're talking about a Subaru, and if have you driven a 300 horsepower car? That's the question. No, and I don't know if you can drive an 800 horsepower car.
Yeah, I have a friend that I walked from a stock BRZ up to his now modified Z06, and like, he really respects that car because he drove a lot slower cars for a couple of years beforehand, and back when he used to think his other stuff was fast.
Yeah.
And then even when his Corvette was stock and it was like fast.
Oh yeah.
And now he takes you for a ride in it, and it's like, in the car as it sits now, and you're like, you're aware that this is beyond anything those other cars were capable of, And it's fun to watch that. As somebody who's been around it my whole life, interacting with people who are like not even new to it, but have only done it for the late part of, like, in adulthood, and didn't grow up with a family that was into cars. It's an interesting thing to hear them talk about like how they view really like the community, right, and like the culture around cars. Because I've gone, I countless Good Guys shows and like these big, like, hot rod events where it's like the old cars, big motors, and like the guys cruise them around the whole weekend and stuff like that. And I really like those, but I can't say I've taken any of my friends to one, because that's just not like, they don't get it, right? Because it's not like,
it's like any other sport. If they're not,
right. If you're not into it, you're
immersed
not
in
into
it.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And it's not that. It's not that. But I mean, Ryan. So your friend
Ryan, yeah.
Ryan. I mean, he started with stock BRZ,
Yeah.
then a turbo BRZ.
Which was really slow.
Was
Which
it
was
turbo or
really
was it-
slow.
Was it supercharged?
It was turbo.
It was turbo.
It was turbo.
It was, I forget whose kid it was.
It was.
But
We worked on it a few years ago. I
yeah, he
don't
had
know.
that. He brought it in for the, timing.
That's
the
right.
VVT.
Yeah, right. The sprockets. And then jumping to the Corvette.
Well, no, there was a car in between that.
What was
too.
that?
He bought a S2000,
Oh, okay.
right? And then he was gonna build the S2000, and I kept telling him, I was like, before you go down this hole, and like really start to go this way, I need you to go drive other really fast sports cars.
Yeah.
Like, yes, can you make 1,000 horsepower with an S2000? Yes. Like,
Yeah.
is that the best way to make 1,000 horsepower? Like, is the rest of the car going to sustain what you're trying to do with it?
Right.
And now that he's got this car, I think he's super happy. But it took me a lot of convincing to be like, hey, dude, like, do you want a fast car, or do you want a fast BRZ?
Right.
Like, that's a conversation that I have, and that's not even anti-Subaru. That's just like, I have that conversation with
No, it's
everybody.
It's a reality. I mean, it's a complete reality.
Anybody who brings me something weird, it's like, I have a friend who always talks about building a Jeep. Like, do you want a fast Jeep, or do you want a fast car?
LS.
Yeah.
Two different things.
LS.
Two different things.
Or do you want a Jeep that is an off-road Jeep and it doesn't have to be a fast Jeep?
Right. Well, that's not what he's talking about building.
Oh, he's talking about
He's
like
talking
a
about
Cherokee
building,
or something?
Yeah, like
yeah.
big. No, it's like a big turbo 6, and I'm like, I mean, okay, you can do it, but like, do you want a fast car or do you want a fast Jeep?
Yeah.
And that realization, as someone who has like probably as little brand loyalty as anyone in my industry ever has, because a lot of machinists and a lot of engine builders are like, this is what I like, I don't like anything else. And I'm, as you guys know, I'm like super open. Like, if it's cool, I'm into it, I like it.
Yeah.
But as someone who is that way, I always say the same thing. Like, anytime you're gonna buy a new car, cool, go drive everything that you've ever thought about buying in your price range. You're telling me you want to build this to be fast or insane? Cool. I need you to really think about, like, do you want to fast this or do you want a fast car? Because there's two different price tags attached to that, and that's two different speeds,
Right.
two different horsepower goals.
That's true. That's true.
Especially when-
Right, Thomas?
What was that?
I don't know. It's just this thing I do. Actually, I'm going to start that from here on out. That's it.
All right,
Right.
Thomas.
Right, Thomas?
Oh, no.
It's going to be my thing from now
I'm
on.
having flashbacks to my childhood.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of childhood, one thing we also don't know about Tom is he is our dyno wrangler, too. This gentleman has
Get the straps.
strapped more cars on a dyno than you
Yeah.
could possibly ever want to.
At some point, I guess we'll show the picture, but the whole joke came about whenever Steve, the guy that also helps with the dyno, put together a picture like that was like, I don't know, it looked like some 3-year-old kind of did it when he had like 2 seconds on a computer and was just realizing how like cut works and paint. Like he took
a cowboy hat.
He took a picture of a cowboy and then like just kind of like slapped my face on it and then.
Well, it was a cowboy riding a T-Rex.
Boy, somebody should introduce him to Snapchat. He would have a blast with filters.
Yeah.
He but yeah, so I'm unofficially the Dino Wrangler, but we.
Now you're officially the Dino Wrangler. There's no unofficial
title.
I guess it is an official
Yeah.
title.
Well, it started out that morning when we had an entire tuning day, and whatever happened to you, whatever you were doing the night before, I had called Steve and said, "Hey, you going down to the dyno? Yeah. Are you going to work it?" Or, he said, "Well, we're Scooter." Like, well, Scooter's definitely going to be there. He is the Dino Wrangler.
He is.
And then so when we showed up,
That's.
he had done that in that 20 minutes it took us to get to the dyno. So there it was.
It's fun, man. I enjoy it. It's
Yeah, and you'll meet Steve. Steve is supposed to be here, but he had something to do. He is.
So Steve.
It's our fault. We last minuted it.
With us,
That's
man.
fine.
It's he's the other participant in Dino Pro.
We're not. It's our fault, Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If you watch this, it's our fault.
He's gonna watch this video. You guys are idiots.
Yeah. It's totally my fault. What are you guys talking about?
No, but yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, in the future, we'll probably be talking about current events for not just us, but for the entirety of like the racing world. We've talked about some of the big events here amongst ourselves. Like, let's be realistic. The biggest thing in the last week is the C8 Corvette, right? Like everything that it changes about the sports car world is nuts, you know.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about that kind of stuff in the future. We really just wanted to kind of get this one out here as like a, hey, let's give some context to what we're going to try and do here. But yeah, I think, in the future, probably talk about that kind of stuff, racing news, obviously anything cool we got going around at the shop. And
We're going to be doing any like reveals of stuff that we are going to be working on here? Are we going to
we probably will
after they've been released, kind of thing?
Yeah, and we'll probably do some like sneak peeks here, where like we'll just show something at the end of the video. If if you stick all the way to the end, sometimes you might see some neat stuff that we're just working on. But man, really, the other thing that we've talked about is doing is Q&As. So maybe like that might be something that we work on. It's going to be a different format. Might be actually in the shop so that we can have somebody live on stream reading us off questions and like Misha and I or somebody, a couple of guys who works here who can answer some questions, like really answer some questions.
Sure.
We can go through and really bang out a lot of questions in a short amount of time.
Well, let's just start now. Go ahead.
There's no one there.
Oh, I'm
They
sorry.
can't.
I'm not really.
What's a Cadillac converter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got some other
It's
ideas.
like a Corvette. With a CTSV body on it.
Right.
Now it's a Cadillac converter.
So there's some other ideas that we have too
Sorry.
that we're gonna work on, but
Oh, it begins. Bad jokes begin.
if you have
Dad jokes.
any suggestions for us,
Yes.
anything you think you want us to do, throw them our way.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
open to anything.
Yeah, we're
And are we going to be introducing little snippets of anybody else that is as part of this whole thing, or we're just,
yeah, I think so. I mean, it's kind of up to them. All three of us we're super willing to do this. I don't want to force this on anybody,
Yeah.
but if somebody who works for our grouping of companies
Right.
here once in, I think everybody has different experiences, and that's really kind of like what this is. We just want to have a conversation about as organic of a conversation as you can have in front of a camera about kind of ourselves and our experiences and stuff that we want to talk about.
Right.
That's
I
my
feel
thought
pretty
process.
organic. You bought me some organic apple juice a little while ago, so
You said you wanted juice. I got you cold
you got
pressed
me
juice,
organic
right?
apple juice.
He's complaining because
Really?
I bought him too expensive of
Sorry.
juice.
I'm not complaining. You're just getting me back when you asked me to get you mellow yellow a few days ago, and I didn't do
Yeah,
it.
just straight up disappointed.
Well, it was. I mean, we'll tell them it was at Subi Fest, and there was 7,000 people there.
The whole day.
And
The whole day.
He
and
would not wait in a line for me, and I think it's bullshit.
we tried to wait in a line, but it was raining, and
That was fun, by the way.
I mean,
Fest.
yeah, Subifest was great.
Oh, yeah, Subifest. This is the guy swimming in the lake. Yeah, at Subifest.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, so if
He,
you find anything this is him.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
doing
internet
okay.
famous.
I don't have any
not.
diseases.
Well, he also got
Yeah,
his
I know.
tattoo touched up the day before, and then swam in the sewer.
That might not have been the best thing.
Nah,
to do.
that was
Basically, it
fine.
was like
No,
swimming
we
with an
consulted
open
the
wound.
tattoo artist right beforehand.
Immediately.
Right before you ran out into the lake,
Yeah.
we
Hey, dude.
consulted. Just so you know, we're doing this. That is not a question.
Does
We're doing
engine
this.
oil affect tattoo healing processes?
I think it'll be better for it.
What
What could possibly go wrong?
It's all
I mean,
black
look at
anyway.
Zach. He's swimming in machine oil constantly, and looks great.
Yeah, I'll probably die early though. That's
Nah, you don't know.
realistically.
We all have the cancer. Let's be real.
Nah,
But
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I feel great. I'm drinking organic apple juice.
Yeah, you're fine.
Also, he's very open to coming to your Subi event and swimming in any kiddie pool or random body of water that you can provide for him.
Yeah.
That's something that we discussed earlier. He's down. He's 100%. He wants
Yeah.
to do it. You reach out to us and we'll put you in contact.
Right, and I'm going to go one step further and say that really, I don't want to limit it to Subifests only. What I really want to do is kind of open the playing field to
so
basically
scared right
any
now.
event
I'm so
that you
scared.
need a half-naked guy.
This goes viral. I'm screwed. There's so much pressure.
Well, is it? Well, I mean,
I
of
have to go
course,
take swimming lessons.
Dude, you're gonna be the
Like,
next
I gotta-
backpack.
You don't know how to
kid.
swim?
You're the next backpack kid.
Only if it's like a foot and a half of water, apparently.
well, I mean, it's good for you. It's a flight. You know, here
flight.
I'm going to drop a contract later, but what is this
Oh,
basically?
you're doing terms for him?
Yeah, so
Term
it's going to
sheet,
be like a
okay.
flight
I'm so lost.
meal, but he's on a diet, so it's got to be like some sort of
Healthy
baked
something.
broccoli and
Baked broccoli.
whatever, like some kind of like, I don't know,
He wants
dried chicken breast or whatever he eats every
He
day.
wants
dried
baked
chicken-
broccoli and
chicken
Provel
breast.
cheese. It's all
Provel
he eats.
cheese, which nobody knows what Provel cheese is unless they're from St. Louis.
That's
You're,
what he wants.
you're not really missing anything unless you've been
No.
over 20.
That's what he wants. Okay.
It's like American cheese, but just Midwest.
But just
Yeah.
Midwest.
Yes.
Just lots more mayonnaise.
Yes. Living here, we're afforded the finer things like cheap rent and cheese.
But yeah, I'll take both of those.
Perfect.
100%. Cheap
There you
rent leaves more room for race cars.
And more cheese.
I care more about the race cars, but yes, you're not incorrect.
That's true.
And cheese.
And cheese.
All right, we done for this one? You guys done? What do you got? Anything else you want to cover?
It's solid foundation.
Yeah. An
That's
introduction
right. We're here to give you a foundation. And now you know.
in front of our beautiful brick wall.
Yep.
Hey, don't make fun of the brick wall, man.
We're gonna pay like
I'm not making
serious
fun of
money
it.
for this. It's a pretty cool car over here, though. Too.
Very cool
I don't
car.
know if you can really see it, but
Do we want to talk about it?
Actually,
That
yeah.
real quick? Just do a little shower.
I mean, you can.
I don't know. Well, this is just a car that came to us from Kansas. I don't know if they can see it at all, actually.
If you want to talk about it, I'll move the camera.
Yeah, well, there's people here, so
can
they won't be
kinda
able to
see
see.
There's people who came in to watch us.
To watch
Not
us.
to participate,
They
just
don't
to
wanna be part
watch
of
us.
You see the car a little bit?
See the splash of red.
Ah, there you go. Anyway, this came as a brand new 2018 Subaru STI. There it is. The guy bought it. He didn't want an older one. He wanted to absolutely destroy a completely brand new car.
That's the best option.
That is the best option.
We wanted to make sure the warranty was never going to be able.
There
to
was
be
no
applicable
warranty.
ever.
The second this thing got here, we did everything we possibly. We actually took the warranty paperwork and we're like, let's just go down the list and make sure we negate all that,
Cross off
and then we'll
everything.
worry about your car. But now it's got a pretty wildly built engine. No longer a stock tranny. Willwood brakes, drag suspension, full roll cage, NHRA approved roll cage. Most of the bells and whistles have been deleted on the inside. It does have the factory nav unit that does not work on it.
NHRA is sponsored by Mellow Yellow. Just want to throw that out there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I see what's happening. I didn't realize this is.
Oh.
Well, you didn't tell me that. I
Oh.
would have gone. I would have gotten
My-
a case of it. They wouldn't let us
My
on.
Mellow Yellow drinking is strictly as brand, like a brand appreciation.
That's
strictly
it. You
that.
don't even, he doesn't even like the way it tastes.
Yeah, you're supporting.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But he has done one thing that everybody said wasn't going to happen is do an entire drag season in a Subaru on the same engine, and we have no idea how that happened or what we did to make that happen, but it did happen, and it actually Did it drive here?
Yeah.
It drove here
Yeah, it drove
from
here.
Kansas.
For the next level.
So
For the next level.
Do you remember exactly like how many passes he did? Because it was.
So he did
was it
65 runs
4,000
on a-
miles.
on a drag trip. 4,000 miles worth of drag racing.
Just full on,
So
absolute.
I can't do that kind of math right now, but
Racing.
that sounds like a lot.
I mean, a high average for bracket racers is 300 passes a year.
300 passes. Okay, so this is what he did.
And those-
65 on the
those
track.
are guys that are doing it every weekend and
Right.
winning.
And then he also did every weekend of street drag racing. So we don't really know how many he did, but he did more than this engine was designed to do.
And we're not just talking just like just taking it down the street. No, he literally just
No,
like
this-
full on race face.
Yeah, this car has been only abused its entire life. Only abused.
This car was like, what the
The
hell did I
second
get
he bought this
this
car,
life
I mean, that right now it doesn't have the Mickey Thompson slicks on there because it came off the dyno last week.
It's good. It's still good.
It still does.
It's got the street.
It has the street.
The
slicks
street
on it.
ones.
Street
Okay, street slicks. Yeah. Are they the Mickey Thompson?
No, they're
Yeah.
Michelin.
Michelin's. Okay, he's got. I remember at his house he had a whole stack
Wait,
of
it
Mickey
says
Thompson.
Mickey Thompson.
Okay,
right
well,
there.
whatever.
There's a logo. It's the logo. and
See, this
everything.
is the mellow yellow talking, so we don't really know.
It's the person who knows about drag racing tires.
That is true. They look small though, don't they?
Just out of curiosity, does Michelin make a drag racing tire?
I don't even think so. I don't know.
I don't know. Just out of curiosity.
Oh.
Michelin, let us know.
Michelin, Mickey Thompson.
Yeah, Michelin, if you're watching this, let us know.
Yeah.
We like tires.
we like tires and we have a blank brick wall.
So much opportunity.
Yeah,
So
well, you
much
didn't bring.
room.
We were gonna bring 2 ferns, but that's already taken.
For 2 ferns.
Yeah,
We do between two tires.
perfect. Between 2 tire stacks. Yeah.
All right, we're wired up.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, share everything. Awkward handshakes are definitely something you should share.
Yeah.
And check out our Facebook pages. So,
Please.
thanks, guys. See
Thank
you next
you.
time.
Can I touch you now?